Hey, students and anyone watching, I would like to share a favorite book with you that I read when I was little, when I was a child, and it is called The Fire Cat. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at that with you, and we're going to read it together. All right, so here we go. The Fire Cat is written by Esther Averill, and she has book many, many years ago. So if I look at the date on when she first wrote this book, it was way back in 1960, and that's before I was even born. So this book has been around for many, many years, for generations, for sure. Okay, The Fire Cat by Esther Averill. You can see here we have a yellow cat with black spots, a little fire hat on. It has 3 section chapters in the table of contents. One of them is called Pickles. That is his name. The second chapter is called The Fire Cat, and then the third chapter is called The Old Tree. All right, let's read together. The first page says, Pickles. Once upon a time, there was a yellow cat with black spots in his fur, and his name was Pickles. Okay. Pickles was a young cat. His paws were big, and he wished to do big things with them. But where could Pickles find anything big to do? Have you ever felt that way? Because you're a kid? Pickles lived in a barrel. The barrel was all that he had for a home. Oh, looks like it even has some holes in it. Hopefully the sun stays out so Pickles doesn't get wet. Pickles' barrel was in an old yard where there was nothing big to do. So what did Pickles do? He ran after little cats, and he ran after every little cat that came into the yard. And he chased the little cat out of the yard. This was a bad, bad thing, but it was all that Pickles could find to do. Have you ever struggled with choices like that? Maybe you're bored and you make bad choices. Well, Pickles struggled with that too. Next to Pickles' yard was a house, and in the house lived many cats who called out to Pickles, "You are bad. You cannot be our friend." But Pickles did have a friend in the house. His friend was Mrs. Goodkind. Okay, there's Mrs. Goodkind here. There she is, Mrs. Goodkind. And there you can see that we have the cats that were yelling out to Pickles. Very sad that they would do such a thing. Here's Mrs. Goodkind. Every day, Mrs. Goodkind came into the yard and gave Pickles something to eat. It's like her name fit her perfectly. She was kind to Pickles. One day, Mrs. Goodkind said, "Pickles, you are not a bad cat. You are not a good cat. You are good and bad and good. You are a mixed up cat. What you need is a good home. Then you will be good." And there's Pickles thinking about what Mrs. Goodkind is saying. All right, let's move on. Mrs. Goodkind picked up the mixed up cat. She took him into her home to live. Oh, look. Now look at this home that she has. She has a fancy house there with some fancy furniture. In Mrs. Goodkind's home, there was a pretty chair for Pickles to sit on. There were toys for him to play with. So he had all the toys all over the room. He's got big eyes. Look at his eyes. Pickles' eyes are very big here, probably wondering what's going on. But Pickles did not want to sit on a pretty chair. Remember, he's not used to that. He did not want to play with toys, so he ran back to his barrel in the yard, and he began to chase the little cats again. There he goes. So he went from a nice place to live back to doing those bad things in his barrel in the yard. Mrs. Goodkind said to Pickles, "Things cannot go on like this. Something will happen." All right. The next day, Pickles chased a little cat up an old tree. He climbed after her. All right, there he goes. That's a bad thing, chasing her up the tree. Pickles sat up in the tree near the little cat. He would not let her climb down. He's kind of being a bully, right? Pickles is not allowing that cat to climb down. He looks like he's happy with himself. Look at the little smile on his face. After a time, the wind began to blow. It blew and blew and blew, and the rain came down hard. It came down harder and harder, and at last Pickles let the little cat climb down and go home. Pickles wanted to climb down too. He wanted to get back into his barrel because it's raining, right? But he could not climb down. Sometimes this happens to a cat, and it happened to Pickles. Mrs. Goodkind ran to the tree. Pickles, she called, please try to climb down. But Pickles could not climb down. And there she is, Mrs. Goodkind, worried about Pickles because she cared for him. Look at the wind blowing. All right. Well, some of you might be thinking, well, Pickles is kind of getting what he deserves, right? He was mean to the other cats. Well, let's take a look. Mrs. Goodkind ran into her house. Pickles could see her by the window. She was talking on the telephone, and then she called out to Pickles, the firemen are coming. All right, so she's calling the fire department to rescue Pickles. A fire truck came up the street and stopped at Pickles' yard. 3 firemen jumped down from the truck. All right, so there they are, getting ready to rescue Pickles from the tree. Mrs. Goodkind came out of her house, and she ran to the firemen and pointed to Pickles. The firemen put a ladder against the tree, and one of the firemen began to climb up the ladder. There he goes, all the way up, and Pickles is waiting with those big eyes. Okay. Well, I guess the yard is pretty busy today, not very boring today with the firemen there. The fireman climbed to the top of the ladder. Come, cat, he said to Pickles. Let me help you. And the fireman picked up Pickles and tucked him into his coat. Then he took Pickles down the ladder, down to Mrs. Goodkind. Oh, look. All right, there's Mrs. Goodkind. Mrs. Goodkind said to the fireman, or Mrs. Goodkind said to the fireman, is this your cat? No, Joe, said Mrs. Goodkind. Pickles has no home, and he does not want to live with me. Why? Asked Joe. Mrs. Goodkind answered, my home is too little for Pickles. Pickles is a cat who wishes to do big things, and someday he will do them. Look at his big paws. All right, so there's the conversation taking place. Mrs. Goodkind with her umbrella and her boots. Okay. There's Pickles' paw. He has a big paw, right? Pickles put out a paw for Joe to see. My goodness, Pickles, said Joe, what big paws you have. Pickles looked at Joe and said the one word that he could say, meow. And Joe could see that Pickles wanted something very much. Joe gave Pickles a pat. Oh, I love that. Joe gave Pickles a pat. See how there's the repeated sound of alliteration there? We saw it up here too, where it says Pickles put out a paw. So I'm looking, the author is having some fun with her words here, okay, making it fun to read. I will take you to our firehouse. Maybe our chief will let you stay. Oh, so now we're understanding the title, right? The Fire Cat. So Pickles is being offered a job and a home as well. All right, now we're looking at the section called the Fire Cat. Joe took Pickles to the chief who was sitting at his desk. There's the chief, the fire chief. He's the boss, right? At the firehouse, doing some work there. And he's taking a look at this cat. It's probably one of the first times the fireman ever brought a cat to the house, firehouse. Oh, said the chief, I know this young cat. He is the one who chases little cats. Oh, look at Pickles' face. He was caught. How do you know? Asked Joe. The chief answered, a fire chief knows many things. Just then the telephone began to ring. Hello, said the chief. Oh, hello, Mrs. Goodkind. Yes, Pickles is here. He came with Joe. What did you say? You think Pickles would like to live in our firehouse? Well, we shall see. Thank you, Mrs. Goodkind. Goodbye. All right, so Mrs. Goodkind is still making sure that Pickles is cared for. It's good to have a friend like that, right? Even if you're not the best friend to somebody else, it's nice when you have a friend that is good to you, like Mrs. Goodkind is. The chief looked at Pickles and said, Mrs. Goodkind says that you are not a bad cat, and Joe likes you. I will let you live here if you will learn to be a good firehouse cat. See the word if in capital letters? Okay. Pickles walked quietly up the stairs after Joe. All right, and there he goes. So Pickles is going up to check things out in the firehouse. Joe and Pickles went into a room where the firemen lived, and the men were pleased to have a cat. They wanted to play with Pickles, but suddenly the fire bell rang. All the firemen ran to the big pole, and down they went. The pole was the fast way to get their trucks. Pickles could hear the trucks start up and rush off to the fire. All right, so everybody's leaving except for Pickles. All right, Pickles wants to go too, though. Do you see? All right, let's see. You ever see the fireman pole like that? You ever get a chance to see one in person? Okay. I'm sure some of the firehouses still use those. Pickles said to himself, I must learn to do what the firemen do. I must learn to slide down the pole. Well, this is fun. He jumped and put his paws around the pole up here. Oh, goodness, though. Look. Down he fell with a bump. All right, Pickles did not know. He could climb the tree, but he can't climb the fireman's pole because it's made of brass, right? It's made of metal, and the tree is made of wood, so it's a different material. Pickles can't grab onto it. Bumps or no bumps, I must try again, said Pickles. He's going to persevere. He's going to stick to it. Up the stairs he ran. Down the pole he came and bumped. So he failed again. But he didn't quit. He tried again and bumped. But by the time the firemen came back from the fire, Pickles could slide down the pole. So he practiced the whole time. What a wonderful cat you are, said the fireman. The chief did not say anything. See, the chief was just watching to see if Pickles really was going to do what he needed to do. This is a great lesson in how we should not give up. I think that's why I liked this book when I was a kid. Probably because also there was a cat with yellow fur and black spots. You don't see that very often. And then, of course, the fire truck is always interesting, right? I always would, see those go by and always like to take a ride on it or to drive it. All right, so let's take a look what's next. Pickles said to himself, I must keep on learning everything I can. So he learned to jump up on one of the big trucks. Oh, there he is. And he learned to sit up straight on the seat while the truck raced to a fire. What a wonderful cat you are, said the fireman. The chief did not say anything. Remember, the chief is still watching to see if Pickles is going to make a good fire cat. All right, let me turn the page. Lots of text here. Pickles said to himself, now I must learn to help the firemen with their work. At the next fire, he jumped down from the truck. He ran to the big hose, put his paws around it, and tried to help a fireman shoot the water at the flames. What a wonderful cat you are, said the fireman. The chief did not say anything. You like that repetition there? The author keeps repeating that phrase kind of to get us excited about what's going to happen next. And look, there's Pickles using those big paws to help hold the fire hose hooked to the fire hydrant to put out the fire. Okay, let's keep going. Oops, pages are sticking together. All right. The next day, there's just like a ceremony or something. The next day, the chief called all the firemen to his desk. Then he called for Pickles. Pickles did not know what was going to happen. He said to himself, maybe the chief does not like the way I work. Maybe he wants to send me back to my old yard. But Pickles went to the chief at the chief's desk. But Pickles went to the chief. There's a period there. At the chief's desk stood all the firemen and Mrs. Goodkind. Oh, my goodness. She was there, too. Yeah, there she is. She's the only one dressed in colorful clothes, right? And there's Pickles. What do you think's going to happen? Remember, the chief has not been saying anything. He's just been watching. The chief said to Pickles, he's going to speak. I have asked Mrs. Goodkind to come because she was your first friend. Pickles, jump up on my desk. I have something to say to you. Pickles jumped up on the desk and looked at the chief. Out of the desk, the chief took a little fire hat. Oh, I wonder if he had to have it specially made. Pickles, said the chief, I have watched your work. You have worked hard. The time has come for you to know that you are now our fire cat. And with these words, the chief put the little hat on Pickles' head. Oh, so he did get recognized for his hard work. See, sometimes you won't get recognized right away, but you have to wait for the work to pay off. And that's what Pickles did. He just kept working hard, even though it took time. All right, our last section here called the old tree. All right, so there's the fire pail upside down. There's Pickles. Oh no, look, there's some cats. Is he going to go back to his old ways? Oh no. Pickles made friends with all the firemen, but he did not make friends with any of the cats. When cats came to the firehouse to look at the trucks, Pickles chased them away. The chief called Pickles to him and said, "A fire cat must be kind to everyone. You must be good to the other cats." Little by little, Pickles learned to be good to the cats he met, and he made friends with them too. So sometimes making good choices doesn't happen right away. Sometimes we need time to figure it out, and Pickles needed that too. Then all the cats loved to come over to the firehouse. Look at this. Looks like a school bus for cats, right? These look like the windows. And there's Pickles, proud to have made friends with all the cats. On rainy days, most cats stayed at home, and Pickles sat upstairs with the firemen. One rainy day, as he sat there, he thought to himself, "How bad I was when I chased the other cats. Once I chased a little cat up a tree. Oh me, oh my, why did I do that?" So he's looking back and he's thinking how terrible his choices were. Suddenly, Pickles heard the chief call out, "Cat in a tree." Oh, that's like what happened to Pickles. Clear my throat. Fireman Joe and two other men slid down the pole. Pickles slid down after them. He heard the chief say, "The tree is in the old yard next to Mrs. Goodkind's house." Oh, thought Pickles, that's the yard where I lived, and that's the tree that he got stuck in. And remember, when he got stuck in that tree, that was the beginning of his opportunity to live at the firehouse. So sometimes when bad things happen, we can have good things come from them. Pickles jumped up on the truck with the three firemen. There he is. Look, he's sitting right there in the front. Away they rode to the yard, and there in the wind and the rain stood Mrs. Goodkind, pointing to a very little cat. The fireman put a ladder against the tree. The ladder scared the little cat, and she ran to a high branch where a fireman could not go. Joe said to Mrs. Goodkind, "I don't know what to do." But Pickles knew. He began to climb the ladder. So there's Pickles. He's going to go all the way to that high branch. Do you think he's going to go up there and chase the cat, or do you think he's going to rescue the cat? Well, I think Pickles has changed his ways, so I think he's probably going to rescue the cat. Pickles climbed up and up and up. It was hard work, but at last he came to the top of the ladder. Then he climbed up the tree until he came to the little cat. "Come, cat," he said to her. "Let me help you." That's what the fireman said to him, to Pickles, when he was rescued. So look, he can't use his paws to carry the cat, but he can use his mouth. You know, cats will carry their young that way. Well, he's carrying the small cat. He picked her up and took her gently down to Mrs. Goodkind. Okay. We're almost to the end. There's Mrs. Goodkind holding the cat. There's Pickles giving her a little wave. Mrs. Goodkind thanked Pickles. Then she said to him, "I always knew that someday you would do big things. Today you have done something very big." Pickles waved a paw at her, as if to say, "Mrs. Goodkind, this is only the beginning." And maybe a little thank you there too, right? And he rode home to the firehouse, a proud and happy cat. And the last page is just simply his little fire hat. And that is the end of the story. Okay, the fire cat. So this is a book, like I said, it's been around since 1960. So if you do the math, how many years is that? Is that 60 years? No, 1960. So it would be 40. Yeah, it would be 60 years, because if we do that to 2020, so it'd be 61 years almost. So that book is an old book, but it's a good book. And if you are are interested in it, I'm sure you can find it online if you want a copy for yourself. All right, students, you make it a great day, and I'm thanking you for the time that you spent with me today reading one of my favorite books. All right, you have an excellent rest of the school year, and keep up working hard, and don't forget, don't give up. And if you make bad choices now, you can always change, and like Pickles did, and make good choices going forward. All right, bye-bye.